Welcome back to Top 10 Tunes. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 progressive rock albums of the 21st century. Coming in at number 10 is Handmade Cities by Polini. Coming off of 3 EP releases, this full-length album showcases Polini as being a modern instrumental tour de force, while incorporating elements of modern subgenres such as djent and math rock, and certainly the production quality of modern progressive metal. Handmade Cities continues a decades-long lineage of instrumental guitar-centric recording. When listening to the album, one may be reminded of the music of Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, the latter being a vocal fan and supporter of Polini. However, Handmade Cities makes notable use of extended playing techniques and modern production aesthetics, creating an instrumental album that is of the current virtuosity-inclined generation. At number 9 is Snow by Spock's Beard. Snow, despite its ambitious and dense musicality and narrative, continues a lineage of the rock opera, albeit to a larger degree. Artists such as The Who and Roger Waters and Pink Floyd have defined the style of the character-driven rock opera, but Neil Morse on the Spock's Beard's epic created something larger and yet counterintuitively more personal. While some artists would use this style of writing to expand their creative chops through strict fiction, Morse would use Snow as a vehicle to explore his own career disillusionment and ultimate conversation as a born-again Christian. Snow was the last album of Spock's Beard's classic era and was inevitable in the development of Neil Morse's undeniable progressive rock legacy. Coming in at number 8 is Damnation by Opeth. The third of Opeth's albums produced by Steven Wilson, Damnation pays homage to 1970s progressive rock and provides a theatrically and melodrama previously flirted with but generally untapped in Opeth's repertoire. While Opeth is undeniably a band tied with both death metal and progressive metal, Damnation is an album that approaches prog rock like a character study. From the abundant use of the mellotron to the singer's strictly clean vocal delivery, this singular identity is brought to the forefront when compared to its sister album, Deliverance, a strictly heavy affair. Today, Opeth are cemented in their progressive pedigree, but these chops are built on Damnation. Number 7 is The Peculiar South of Reality by the Claypool Lennon Delirium. In making this list, the line between psychedelic and progressive rock had to be drawn. However, South of Reality perfectly toes the line between the two, and in its own way is reminiscent of the pre-prog rock era of the late 60s. Experimentalism without pretension and an honest silliness make this collaboration between Les Claypool and Sean Lennon a unique affair. Although being the second album by this duo, it feels like a brand new artistic relationship. As for its psychedelic ties, South of Reality reminds us of what prog rock stood for before the rules were written, and before the subgenre had begun to pull up on its own walls, conceptual expansion and musical exploration for its own sake. At number 6 is Good Apollo I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness by Coheed and Cambria. Every release from Coheed and Cambria takes place in the Amori Wars storyline, a science fiction story written and conceptualized by singer Claudio Sanchez. Despite its progressive scope in story and multimedia existence, the power behind this album comes from its accessibility. Good Apollo features the band's biggest hit in Welcome Home, and the band's incorporation of post-hardcore and even emo sensibilities is something truly unique. The vulnerability of the lyrical content and no-nonsense arrangements trimmed the proverbial fat abundant in many prog rock revivalists and could appeal to a contemporary audience. Today, Coheed and Cambria don't always get their name checked in prog rock circles, but Good Apollo was a conceptual home run while being a mainstream success. Rounding out our list at number 5 is The Whirlwind by Transatlantic. The post-reunion record by this progressive rock supergroup, The Whirlwind, is a single song spread throughout the entire album. While the Neil Morse epic had been seen in the music of Spock's Beard, here it is on display prominently through the lens of all equally prominent and futuristic musicians: Rain Stolt from the Flower Kings, Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, and Pete Trewavas from Marillion. The effect given on The Whirlwind is an evocation of Hemisphere's era Rush and the awe-inspiring musicality of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. While it may be unfair to simply make the comparison to earlier groups, Transatlantic themselves frequently wear their influences on their sleeves and are the first to admit the era of musicians they're synthesizing. Of course, the musicality of Transatlantic makes The Whirlwind a journey in and of itself, and a relieving return to form for the fans of this style of progressive epic. Coming in at number 4 is Clockwork Angels by Rush. After decades of releases expanding their tonal palette to incorporate new wave and alternative rock aesthetics, Rush released Clockwork Angels in 2012 and created their last modern classic. Rush pioneered the incorporation of hard rock into progressive rock in the 70s, which often marks them as one of the original prog metal artists. This being said, progressive metal in the 2010s was an entirely different beast. Because of this, Clockwork Angels provides a heavier alternative for the original progressive music fan without completely turning the corner into realms of progressive musics of the modern age. This niche, this singular area, is what has endeared Rush to so many fans for so many years, and this album reminds us of the band's classic era when they helped push a genre known for pushing boundaries that much further. Number 3 is Black Holes and Revelations by Muse. Today, Muse is an arena performing band of the highest caliber, but this reputation and grandiose image began on Black Holes and Revelations. Matt Bellamy's soaring operatic vocal and classical leaning guitar and piano melodies are on full display, and the songs can range from the dynamic subtlety of Soldier's Poem to the bombast of Knights of Sidonia. What Muse create are dense and complex songs that are packaged for mainstream rock audiences and radio airplay. Later Muse albums would further explore more traditional prog leanings, such as the incorporation of both electronica and full choir and orchestra arrangements. But Black Holes and Revelations revealed from front to back what made Muse unique from other prog rock and alternative bands and created its own mold from which the band could stray. Number 2 spot is Deloused in the Comatorium by the Mars Volta. The debut album by this cult favorite band is the brainchild of band leaders Cedric Bixler-Zavala and Omar Rodriguez Lopez. The album is scattered across influences of progressive, Latin, and jazz rock, as well as a consistent air of experimentalism. Both members also front the post-hardcore band At the Drive-In, and this connection can't be forgotten as the punk and emo freneticism frequently rears its head. Many genres have mentioned thus far, and Deloused in the Comatorium began the Mars Volta's career of hopping genre lines and incorporating any and all sounds that best suit the song in front of them. This song whiplash can be deterring for even the most seasoned prog rock listener, but this 2003 album was an exciting revelation that the new millennium had daring and avant-garde music for the newer generations looking for a group to call their own. And our number 1 spot is The Raven That Refused to Sing and Other Stories by Steven Wilson. We couldn't have picked any other album as the top progressive rock album of the 21st century, as Steven Wilson remains one of the most vital voices in the contemporary prog scene, and The Raven stands as his magnum opus. While this album pays homage to and stands to emulate the sounds and vibe of a traditional 70s prog rock album, going as far to enlist Alan Parsons as co-producer, it feels like an album that has been lost to time, a record that was created at the height of the entire genre's popularity and development, only to have been discovered in 2013. Each song on the album is treated as its own story, and ultimately feels crafted with the utmost of care. Even with Steven Wilson's long, remarkable career and output, both solo and with progressive metal giants Porcupine Tree, The Raven feels singular, and in the modern prog rock community, it looms as tall as any other classic album. Imagine how it'll look when further aged. Thank you so much for watching Top 10 Tunes. Be sure to comment below with your favorite prog rock album of the 21st century. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.